Steakhouse, we have been emphasizing those Sunday night dinners. What a deal. You can get steak or seafood. The seafood is incredible there. An entree, that would be steak or seafood. A side dish with some seafood, that would be the mac and cheese and the lobster. That's just three food groups right there. Lobster, mac, and cheese. Those are my favorite food groups. Dessert added into that, all for $49 per person. Make a reservation at shanahansteakhouse.com. Do it today. I'm going to talk, the second time in about 3 weeks that I've talked about a journalist. The Washington Post columnist Jason Reid quit his job to host a morning radio show in D.C. called Man Cave. And it was supposed to start, is today Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yes, yesterday. It was supposed to start yesterday.
Yes, supposed to start yesterday. And it was a morning show, and the Washington Post decided that that would be a conflict of interest, which I find kind of funny because Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser did TV for years, and that suddenly didn't become a conflict of interest. Well, here's what's happening. And you're going to stick around for the end of this because this is one of those where I make a good point at the end. So he'd been rehearsing it, and he had quit his job, and this is ESPN Radio in Washington, D.C. I don't know the call letters, but you can't listen to it anyway because what happened? He didn't go on the air. And there was an announcement that they didn't know whether he was going on the air. And the announcement wasn't made by the program director or the news director or the guy that was head of all the operations because he got fired. Well, that's odd. The guy that put together the Man Cave got fired. Well, why isn't the Jason Reid show going on the air? Well, the station is owned by a guy you may have heard of. His name is Daniel Snyder. Daniel Snyder owns the ESPN station in D.C. That's the conflict of interest because the people on that radio station can't really talk poorly of the Washington football team. So it seems as if, according to reports on Deadspin and other places, that Daniel Snyder didn't learn of this hiring of a Washington Post columnist who had occasionally ripped the Washington football team, was now going to be employed by. I can't understand really Reid's idea of going to that station, but everything was wrong. Well, now he's probably not going to be able to go back to the Washington Post, and Daniel Snyder et al. Have decided not to put him on the air. Daniel Snyder tries to control everything. He owns the radio station, which has his games on the air. Does that sound familiar to you? Do you ever listen to or watch the Denver Nuggets? Do you ever watch or listen to the Colorado Avalanche? Do you ever watch or listen to the Colorado Rockies? It's the same situation. Can you imagine that a station that does the Rockies game would hire me? No, because the people with the teams would say, you can't put him on the air. There's a couple of teams in town that would not put Les Shapiro on their station. And what's great about what we're doing here is nobody keeps us from saying anything. That's my career. Nobody is allowed. They've tried. Teams and sponsors. There's a soft drink company that is not named Coca-Cola that's really major, tried to get me fired. There was a team that has tried to get me fired. The Broncos even tried to get me fired in 1974. That doesn't mean anything about me, but what I like about what we're doing here is we're not controlled by anybody. And it's unfortunate. We have very good friends who work for these stations, and they can't tell the truth. They can't tell the truth about. They probably said, oh, we don't know the reason why the players aren't playing in the Nuggets game last night. Oh, he's just resting him. Because they can't tell the truth. And I hope that all of you, when you're watching your local station or you're listening to your local station, it's about sports, just keep in mind, they're not giving you the truth. You need to go to other media outlets, or in the case of the Washington, D.C. station, and ESPN had nothing to do with this. They've already hired him to write columns for their .com. They didn't have anything to do with this. Daniel Snyder is what's wrong in this country. This is the kind of sadness that Thomas Jefferson didn't want. One of the forefathers said, it's better to have a free press than a free government. That's what happened in Germany. It's what happened in the Soviet Union. It happens in all South American countries. And I think that it's up to the people to rise up and say, you know, we want honesty in our media. And so that's important, I think, in terms of sports teams. And it's a diversion, it always says, but you're not getting honesty. Every time I watch, I laugh. I just laugh because I think they're trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and they don't do it. That's Woody's World. I'm Woody Paige, and that's my opinion.